Welcome back to my channel. The war against Iran has had a lot of focus, as it should. But there is a lot of absolute nonsense being spouted that is flat out dangerous. I don't care if you think Trump shouldn't have taken out Iran's nuclear and other military capacity or not. I could argue specific points for either position. But we have a situation where the critics sound more like Tokyo Rose in World War II. Everything that woman said was to treat every event as a failure for the United States, even if it was really a victory. That's what I see from Democrats today. If someone dies in a war, we failed. An aircraft gets shot down, we failed. These people have no concept of what wars are like. And if such things are your definition of failure, you will lose every war simply because you are unwilling to accept any losses. Rational people certainly don't want anyone to die, but being rational, they know it is going to happen. In the past, Democrats have sometimes at least said the correct things, like this from Hillary Clinton.
I too am deeply concerned about Iranian aggression and the need to confront it. It's a ruthless, brutal regime that has the blood of Americans, many others, including its own people, on its hands. Its political rallies resound with cries of death to America. Its leaders talk about wiping Israel off the face of the map, most recently just yesterday, and foment terror against it. There is absolutely no reason to trust Iran.
Pretty much nailed it. And the most important part was the statement that there is absolutely no reason to trust Iran. So, logically, she will advocate strong action, right? Well, she does say this.
We systematically increased our military capabilities in the region, deepening our cooperation with partners and sending more firepower, an additional aircraft carrier, battleship, strike aircraft, and the most advanced radar and missile defense systems available.
Cool, but keep in mind that increased military capabilities doesn't mean you're willing to use it or use it effectively. If it just turns out to be for show, it doesn't matter. Just like a parent may tell a misbehaving child that if they don't straighten up, they'll get a spanking. But if you never follow through, the child will only pretend to feel the punishment, then go right on misbehaving. Of course, Hillary said they did other things as well.
Meanwhile, I traveled the world, capital by capital, leader by leader, twisting arms to help build the global coalition that produced some of the most effective sanctions in history.
Sounds good. Just one problem. We now know Iran still got very close to having nuclear weapons anyway, which means this statement didn't hold up well.
It blocks every pathway for Iran to get a bomb. And it gives us better tools for verification and inspection and to compel rigorous compliance.
Apparently, it didn't actually accomplish those things. Hillary even talks about the negative possibilities, which, turns out, did happen.
We need to be prepared for 3 scenarios. First, Iran tries to cheat, something it's been quite willing to do in the past. Second, Iran tries to wait us out. Perhaps it waits to move for 15 years when some, but not all, restrictions expire. And third, Iran ramps up its dangerous behavior in the region, including its support for terrorist groups like Hamas and Hezbollah.
Well, Iran didn't wait 15 years, but it did the other 2 things. Since she admitted they can't be trusted, this shouldn't be a surprise.
But the most important thing we can do to keep Iran from cheating or trying to wait us out is to shape Iranian expectations right from the start.
That's correct. And what do our enemies usually expect? That the United States has little stomach for any negative effects from war and will not apply its full might. Just weeks after a war begins, there will be lots of people here saying it is failing.
So here's my message to Iran's leaders. The United States will never allow you to acquire a nuclear weapon. As president, I will take whatever actions are necessary to protect the United States and our allies. I will not hesitate to take military action if Iran attempts to obtain a nuclear weapon.
Fine. Not that I expected her to actually do it, though, at least not in an effective way. It's easy enough to make a brief show of force where the damage to the enemy isn't enough to bother them, especially when they expect you to give up. Think about what our enemies depend on to have any chance of defeating the United States. They can't do it militarily, and this is nothing new. The Japanese in World War II knew they couldn't beat us in industrial might, and thus could not beat us militarily. What they could, and did, was to hit us hard at Pearl Harbor so they would have months of control in the Pacific, and throughout the war, try to make us pay a high price in human and economic terms so we would make a deal that would give them total control over many weaker nations in the Pacific. They were willing to pay the high price. They didn't think we were. They bet we weren't, but it didn't work out that way. Iran is making the same bet, but this time, with the rhetoric of the Democrats, they may be right. Iran hopes they can create enough negativity about the war that we will give in, thus leaving them in power, able to resume their nuclear ambitions later. All the rhetoric from the Democrat Party is literally feeding the main tactic Iran is depending on. Throw in politics here, and you have Democrats making irrational criticisms, seemingly just to win elections no matter how it affects the country. Which probably explains the long history of Democrats changing their standards on what is proper behavior. Trump actually did the things that fit what Hillary said. Trump didn't trust Iran and acted accordingly. He increased our capabilities and actually used them. Trump didn't let Iran use its usual stalling tactics. When they tried, he took out more targets, while once again inviting them to negotiate seriously. It was obvious Iran had no intention of stopping its nuclear weapons program, so Trump took military action to take it out, rather than just talk about doing so. As a result, he also reset Iran's expectations. They know Trump will act, not just talk. Hillary talked about what matters, such as this.
Taking nuclear weapons out of the equation is crucial, because an Iran with nuclear weapons is so much more dangerous than an Iran without them.
She was right. You see, regardless of the threat Iran still poses, such as terrorists the previous administration was so lax about letting in, it would be so much worse if Iran had nukes. When Democrats hold power, we get rhetoric like this.
And let's avoid at all costs undermining America's credibility abroad. That only makes us weaker, and I'm going to call it out whenever I see it.
But today, we have important Democrats going to other countries to trash what we are doing. It's automatic for them. Am I saying there isn't room for criticism of Trump's policies? Of course not. But what the Democrats are doing sounds, as I said, more like the stuff we'd hear from Tokyo Rose. It shows the Iranian tyrants that their strategy just might work. It might not even take long. If the Democrats succeed and take control of Congress in the 2026 elections, Iran will be even more motivated. They know the Democrats will do all they can to force Trump to stop. They know the Democrats will try to tie up Trump with impeachment and any other investigations they can make up. Let's not forget the Iranian leaders simply lie, and the Democrats know it, which means when they tell Democrat leaders how cooperative they will be, it is simply a lie the Democrats will gladly accept anyway. Radical Islam teaches that they can lie in negotiations. It isn't a matter of just a few people being a problem. For just one example, Iran said they only had missiles that could reach around 1,200 miles. Yet recently they launched two that could go twice as far, which means Europe is in range. Imagine one of those with a nuclear warhead. The Democrats show constant weakness. That is, an inability to put up with any suffering, no matter how minor or short term. This shouldn't surprise you, since so many of them have a need for safe spaces. It is so ridiculous to be complaining, as I heard from a Democrat less than 2 months after the fighting started, that gas prices are still high. Excuse me? They have become so pathetically weak that they can't tolerate what my parents and grandparents put up with for years during World War II. Or, if you were a certain Democrat, that would be World War XI. They also failed to see some very positive long-term benefits on prices. If Iran can't obstruct oil shipping, supplies increase and prices go down. We also just had the UAE drop out of OPEC, greatly weakening OPEC's ability to keep prices artificially high. The left is either dishonest or incapable of seeing beyond the present. Thus, they see none of the potential benefits of what is going on, while only seeing the present difficulties and assuming failure in the future. It would be like just quitting World War II after the battle at Kasserine Pass. At least that battle was a true failure. Let's consider things a bit longer term, which is the job of any leader or others in government. Sure, you can criticize some of these things, but do so rationally. Venezuela is no longer going to automatically send oil to those who are a threat. And now the same applies to Iran. The U.S. is in a position to do any future negotiations from a position of strength. And by acting strongly instead of cheap rhetoric, every nation now knows that Trump will actually act. Not only that, but they are learning their old tricks of talking just as a stalling tactic won't work. Trump offers to talk, but if the talks are found to be worthless, he acts. And no, it isn't always by military force. It's an important message to send. Sure, you can say he should talk more, but then we've been doing that for decade after decade while Iran-sponsored terrorism continued. There are risks, as there are with everything, but I suspect a lot of countries are going to be a lot more cooperative in any negotiations instead of stalling or making deals they have no intention of obeying. Could things go wrong? Sure, but the Democrats seem intent to make sure they do. Thanks for watching, and don't let the trolls stop you from speaking out.